So unless you all have been living under a rock, you all most likely know who the man in this photo right here is. And you also probably know what this man is guilty of. And you also probably know that this man managed to slip through every single crack when it comes to being punished for his crimes against children. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So when it comes to Epstein, his allegations all began in 2005 in Palm Beach, Florida, in his mansion, where a 14-year-old girl had admitted to the police that she was sexually abused by him. The police began an investigation into this, where they found at least 36 other girls that were as young as 14 years old that were also sexually abused by Epstein, where Epstein would force these girls to give him sexual massages in his mansion. We moved to May of 2006, where the Palm Beach police had finished their investigation into him and were ready to charge Epstein with multiple counts of unlawful sex with a minor. But instead of going to an actual court, the Palm Beach County State Attorney at the time, Barry Krischer, instead sent the case to a grand jury. Then 2 months later, in July of 2006, even after everything, the Palm Beach police found everything with his involvement in minors, he only gets indicted on one charge of soliciting prostitution. Everything involving him with minors and anything along that just gets thrown out, and he gets indicted on that one single charge, which obviously pisses off the Palm Beach police. We move to 2007, where another indictment against Epstein starts to get prepared, but at the same time, Epstein's lawyers go and visit someone named Alexander Acosta, who at the time is a U.S. attorney in Miami. And then Epstein's lawyers and Acosta both work together to try to figure out some type of deal for Epstein which would make him avoid any federal charges, which would lead to a much shorter sentence. And in 2008, he officially gets arrested. And he gets a really good deal, to say the least. Because of a non-prosecution agreement that was made between Epstein and Acosta, he has all federal charges that are against him dropped in exchange to pleading guilty to only 2 state charges, which is 1 charge of soliciting prostitution and 1 count of soliciting prostitution from a minor, and he gets sentenced to 18 months in a minimum security facility. But that's not even the worst part of it. See, while Epstein is serving his sentence, he is a part of a work release program where for out of 12 hours of the day for 6 days a week, he's allowed to leave to go work at one of his nonprofits. And on top of that, Epstein didn't even have to serve the whole 18-month sentence. Instead, he got out after only serving 13 months. And if you thought all of that was bad, it somehow gets even worse than that. So September 24th of 2007 was the official date that Epstein's NPA was officially signed. And just weeks later, on November 1st of 2007, was when a man named Darren Dyke, who I will be talking about later on in this video, he officially registered the Florida Science Foundation, the place where Epstein went for his work release program. So it wasn't even an actual real foundation, it was a place that was literally created for the sole purpose of getting Epstein out of jail during his work release. While looking into this, I found a case from a woman who used the name Caitlin Doe versus Richard Kahn and Darren K. Dyke, who, once again, I will be talking about him later on in this video. In this case, she talks about meeting Epstein when she was 17 years old in 2007, where she was seeking help for her eating disorders. And she tells a story that's similar to other underage minors, where Epstein would ask for massages that would quickly turn sexual in his mansion. Then the case goes on to when Epstein was arrested, and during his work release program, he would send emails to her asking for sexual photos of not just her, but also a female relative of hers. And over the span of a few months, he continues coercing her about a job opportunity that she could have at this Florida Science Foundation where he was working at. And after continually being coerced by him, she eventually agrees to it. But when she flew from New York to Florida and she arrived there at the foundation, she realized that this was all nothing more than a way for Epstein to have sex with her while in his office at this foundation. And the worst part is that she wasn't the only one. In this case, it's also mentioned that while Epstein was on this work release, he would work with associates in New York to harbor and transport young females. And he would work to fly them down to Florida to meet them at his office so he could have sex with all of them. And according to financial records, Epstein's Florida Science Foundation also paid over $128,000 to off-duty deputies that worked at the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, and they worked as his jailers. Epstein literally hired his own security that was meant to watch him at his own foundation that he created while he continued to move young girls to this foundation so he could have sex with them during this work release program. Then in May of 2009, while Epstein is still serving his 13-month sentence, a woman by the name of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, she files a lawsuit against Epstein and Maxwell where she talks about how they would arrange for her to have sexual encounters with people in very higher up positions. People like businessmen, politicians, royalty, people like that. But of course, no names are mentioned in the lawsuit. Then in 2014, court papers are filed with Giuffre's lawyers. She talks about having to have sexual encounters with Prince Andrew and foreign presidents and world leaders, but of course, all accusations she makes are denied by them. Then in 2015, Virginia Giuffre sues Ghislaine Maxwell. See, Ghislaine decided to call Giuffre a liar after she told her story about being trafficked through Epstein and Ghislaine, which then caused Giuffre to sue her for defamation. In 2017, Ghislaine Maxwell settled Giuffre's lawsuit, but that's when the Miami Herald started to get involved. They wanted to file to unseal records from Giuffre's case, saying that they have the right to talk about the abuse that Giuffre and multiple other girls went through under Epstein and Maxwell, and that they have the right to talk about the story. Then in 2018, the Herald publishes multiple investigative reports into Epstein looking into his abuse allegations. This also included looking into Alexander Acosta and the NPA deal that he gave Epstein, which led to him only serving 13 months, which was a really bad time for him considering that at this time he was working as the U.S. Secretary of Labor under the Trump administration. So yeah, bad time to find out that you nominated someone that gave a really good deal to a pedophile and a sex trafficker. Because I know that if it was me, and I found out that I nominated or I had someone working for me that helped a pedophile and a trafficker in a really good way, and he only served 13 months in prison, I would get rid of that person immediately, and I would have nothing to do with them. And yet that did not happen. But is that really shocking when this is the man that nominated Acosta?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy?
Then we get to July of 2019, where Epstein is finally arrested in New York. He's hit with one charge of sex trafficking of minors, and he's hit with another charge of conspiracy of sex trafficking of minors. Which, I don't get how that's a conspiracy if you're already charging him. But either way, he gets officially arrested on July 6th of 2019 and is sent to the Metropolitan Correctional Center. And what's funny about this is that only 6 days later after Epstein's arrest, Acosta officially resigns as the U.S. Secretary of Labor, saying that the Epstein stuff is just too much for him. Yeah, imagine how the victims felt knowing that their abuser only got 13 months in prison because of a deal that you made with him. I imagine that probably feels a lot worse. We won't miss you. Acosta la vista.
Baby.
Then about a month later, after all of this, on August 10th, Epstein was found dead in his cell after he ended his life. No, I'm kidding. He didn't do that. When it comes to Epstein, you are either on one side of the fence or the other. You either think that he was murdered or you think that he is still alive. I personally believe in the latter, and I'm going to tell you why. At the time when Epstein... there were still a lot of loose ends that were not tied up. See, the first thing is that Epstein was not sentenced or convicted, and he was still awaiting trial. And the second thing is that he was still awaiting an appeal. On July 18th of 2019, Epstein and his lawyers tried to get a bail hearing, which would have let Epstein out on house arrest for $100 million of bond. Fortunately, the district judge, Richard M. Berman, immediately denied it and pretty much told Epstein, no, we're going to keep you locked up. And 5 days after that, on the 23rd, his lawyers filed a notice of appeal on that decision. And Epstein and his lawyers were still waiting on that appeal when Epstein decided to... which makes zero sense. Because even if you think that you're going to get denied for that appeal anyway, if you have hundreds of millions of dollars, why not at least wait to see whether it's confirmed or denied before you take that way out? That just doesn't make sense to me. And that's not even including the fact that while he was at the correctional center, everything that could have went wrong went wrong. None of the cameras were working, the guards were not doing their timely rounds, and supposedly he had attempted to end it once before, but then the guards stopped him, and then he blamed the marks on his neck from his attempt on a cellmate that he had who denied doing anything. From there, he was taken out and put on S-Watch, where he was only put there for a week before he was taken off of it and then put back in general population after only one single week. And even though Epstein was required to have a cellmate with him, he was put in a cell by himself. That is a lot of errors to make to write off as a coincidence, but sure, maybe it was just a rundown correctional center. Sure, we'll go with that. Anyway, let's go to Epstein's will. See, 2 days before Epstein's supposed death, he ended up writing a will which put over $500 million of his assets into a trust fund, which was titled the 1953 Trust, the same number and year that Epstein was born. And one of the people that Epstein appointed to be his executor of his will was a man named Darren K. Dyke, and they were pretty close friends. He's helped close associates of Epstein like Les Wexner and Ghislaine Maxwell with their finances, and his name and signature appear on many real estate records that are associated with Epstein. And he also appears as the treasurer or vice president of 3 of Epstein's nonprofits: the COUQ Foundation, Gratitude America, and the J. Epstein VI Foundation. Another important detail to mention is that during Epstein's 13-month sentence back in 2008, Dyke visited him at least 38 times. And remember the work release program which let Epstein get out of jail for 12 hours of the day? Well, Dyke's signature appears on that work release program as Epstein's employer. So he was pretty much with him throughout all of the accusations and the jail time. And after all of this, now he is here with his signature as an executor of Epstein's will just 2 days before his supposed death. I mean, and Dyke helped him get out of jail once with that work release program. He could have helped him get out of jail again. And finally, just to conclude this video, I just want to make some points. Like, when it comes to Virginia Roberts Giuffre, I do not believe that she ended her life, especially her own words say that she would never do that. I believe that she was murdered because of everything that she was saying and everything that she was exposing, and the lawsuits against Ghislaine and Epstein, and then the lawsuits that she filed against Prince Andrew. I think that she essentially was just too dangerous to all of these pedos to be kept alive. There's another important truth that people need to remember, which is this. This is still happening. Just because Epstein was arrested does not mean that his entire operation just shut down. It simply means that someone else stepped in to take it over. And as sad as it is to accept, there's just too many powerful and rich people in this system for anything to get shut down. I mean, I want to see our system of justice execute pedophiles as much as the next guy, but I also know that that is very unlikely, matter of fact, impossible to happen. Because if we know anything about elites and people like this, they always love to rub it in the face of normal working class people, because they think they will never understand what they're meaning, and they also know that they will never have to face true justice for their crimes. See, the system of justice doesn't work properly when you have an exorbitant amount of money, because we use money as punishment. That's why we have things like fines and bonds and posting bail. When you're rich, you're rewarded, and when you're poor, you're punished. They know that they are immune to justice, and that is why they laugh about it in our faces. It's kind of like how all of these elites constantly talk about pizza and eating pizza and having pizza parties, and then it turned out that pizza is actually an allegory used by pedos to talk about kids.
Thank you very much for this prestigious award. To show my appreciation, I am inviting you all to a pizza party tonight at Jennifer Aniston's house. I'll see you there.
How was the pizza? Was it good?
Oh,
what? Did he make it
Amal's
himself?
pizza was better than Clooney's. They both made. Everybody made a certain kind of pizza.
There's no pizza we didn't love.
Something that he doesn't.
5 different kinds. 5 different kinds or 6 different kinds of pizza that night. Clooney's was excellent. Amal's was the winner.
We've known each other for years. Yeah. You've been to my house. We've had pizza. Girl after my own heart. Do we love a pizza or what? We love a pizza. It's so good. It's so much fun. Now, someone did. I was told that you
had to go to waste. Who will eat pizza if I? Jennifer? Yes. Harrison?
Turning the Oscars into an everyone's invited dinner party with dinner.
What do you think? Julia wants cheese. Who's your favorite movie star? They're here. Who do you want to talk to? Oh.
And then passing a very famous hat to pay the delivery guy.
What do you have, Harvey? 200?
200.
This is
Does that cover it?
This is
oh, it's a start.
We were talking during the break. It's Portofino and Lake Como. And so that's where Clooney lives. George Clooney lives.
Yes.
And Jen and George are friends. So
George,
you went to George's house?
Yes, of course. And he was him and his wife and all these nice people were there, and they invited Jen and me. I know George back in the day too. So we went there, and you take a boat. You get on a boat. You cruise down. Went over to their house. They made us homemade pizza, and it was an amazing time. I sat next to Bono. It was a good day.
That is a good day.
And as sad as it is, there will never be any real justice when it comes to the survivors of Epstein. I mean, the fact that our current DOJ hasn't interrogated anyone about this, including people like Darren Kay and Dyke, or any of the off-duty deputies that were working at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office between 2008 and 9, and you even consider the fact that the DOJ has not even talked to one single Epstein survivor.
Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you, all of you who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Miss Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them.
The fact that no one has been interviewed in any of this pretty much just adds up to the fact that nothing's going to change and there will never be justice. But one thing that we can all do is keep talking about this and making sure that these topics never go away, because the victims deserve at least that much. And also remember that while these people may be laughing at us, the Lord is laughing at them, for he knows that their eventual time of judgment is coming. But until we see any true justice for anyone who has offended any child, especially when it comes to the elites and our politicians, that's all I have to say in this video. Keep your enemies close, and keep God even closer. Peace.